Welcome to Financial Insider Weekly. I'm your host, Michael Gray, CPA. My guest today is Richard Lambie, and Richard is a California licensed professional fiduciary. He has his fiduciary business located in San Jose, close to Valley Fair, for those of you who are in this area. He handles trust administration, estates, conservatorships, and duties under powers of attorney. We're going to go through some of the details related to that today. He worked for over 30 years in trust administration at various banks, 15 years with bank trust departments. And Richard set up his practice 14 years ago to focus on the needs of families and individuals requiring special assistance with asset management and problem resolution. And Richard is, I guess I would call it a founding member and past president of the Professional Fiduciary Association of California, or PFAC, and he's still active on the legislative committee for that group. So, Richard, welcome.
Thank you for having me on the show, Mike.
Today. So today, Richard and I are going to be talking about the role of the professional fiduciary, so that you have an idea of the things that people like Richard do. Richard, why would someone choose a professional fiduciary or a trust company instead of a family member or a friend as a conservator, trustee, or executor?
That's a very complex question there, Mike. So clearly I've been in the business. So I just want to correct one of the facts here, that I haven't been in the trust administration business for 30 years plus the 14 out on my own. It's a combination. So otherwise I'd be as old as Methuselah. So, but really when somebody's looking at selecting a trustee or an executor or something like that, really they're looking at the skill set.
Yes.
So in some cases, the people may have a very, very simple estate, couple of bank accounts, live in a rental apartment, something like that. Family members can do a great job with that, so that's really not an issue. But when the assets get even a little bit more complicated, somebody owns a home, where we are in Santa Clara County, is still worth $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. The assets start to pile up. So you're really looking at the skill set of the family member or the friend, and can they really get to grips with the titling on the property? Can they collect all the bank accounts and that sort of thing? So you're really looking at the skill set of that person. So you've got that as one of the factors. Is the person qualified to do the job? They may have been the world's most wonderful neighbor. You're able to borrow milk and sugar and whatever else from the neighbors. But when it comes to the finances, which is where we're really going here today, that can be quite a challenge, even for the most loyal neighbor. Another issue, and this is what we see quite a lot with the different folks that come into our office, is an age factor, because probably like in your case, a lot of your friends are a similar age.
Yes.
And once you get up into your 70s or 80s, a lot of your friends are up in that category as well. So the friend or the neighbor or even the family member can be getting up there in terms of age as well. So you're looking at their capabilities. Are they on top of their business? Even if they are on top of their business, can they take care of your business as well? Again, we're looking at any real estate holdings, the bank, the brokerage firms, that type of thing as well. So you're looking at those combinations. We've got age, we've got the skill set, but also with regard to emotion, particularly when we're looking at family members. That can really be a challenge, because if the family member's involved, as they should be with their loved ones, that can really be a problem, because you're focusing on if there are any health issues, a decline, could be an accidental injury or a long-term decline due to dementia or something like that, a chronic medical condition. The person that's closest to you would be very upset by that. So we're looking at, that's coming in as a factor as well. So, going through those three. The third thing that unfortunately we see quite a lot in our business is that if the family member or the friend is brought in and there's maybe litigation involved, either could be existing litigation, maybe with family members, could be with regard to an asset, collecting an asset, pursuing an asset, something like that, that can really be a trial. Litigation is very adversarial, very emotionally draining in its own right. So you've got a combination of factors there that, again, I'm not decrying the neighbor or the family member or the friend, but sometimes it can be a real challenge for them to do an effective job.
Yeah. and maybe related particularly to your last point, is that you can sort of have conflicts of interest and also emotional conflicts. You know, the mom always liked you best thing, so there's a resentment that may happen among family members. And so sometimes by having an independent person that's involved, then that helps to diffuse a little bit of that stuff.
Yes, very much so. I'd say one of the most hostile cases that I've been involved with just recently settled on January the 8th, I remember the date well, involved a total family of 3 with 2 sisters and a brother. 2 of the family members were in the family business, one of them had left the family business, and mom and dad were absolutely convinced that the children should be able to get along to save the business and balance out their inheritance. And when mom unfortunately passed away at the end of 2007, basically everything broke loose. Years of family conflicts and feuding came to the fore. How were the 2 that were running the business, how were they running that? The one on the outside, of course, felt that she'd been hard dealt by, and the 2 that were in the business were obviously feeling that they were running the business absolutely to the best of their ability. And probably out of a $7 million estate, there were probably $2 million consumed in legal fees just on that one case alone.
Isn't that sad?
So, you know, that's something that mom and dad obviously thought, you know, the children must be able to get along, but absolutely couldn't do it.
Yeah, so actually part of what happens is when mom and dad pass away, the referees are gone.
Very much so, very much so. The glue that held the family together is gone.
Yeah. Okay, well now let's say that you're in this, let's say for example I'm in this situation, that I've been named as a trustee or executor, but I don't have the experience or the education in that area. So what are some things I should think about before accepting?
You should be very, very cautious. You should get a hold of the document before you accept, as you suggest. This is a checklist of the things you should do before you sign on the dotted line. So have a look through the document. That's not as simple as it sounds. A lot of the documents that I pick up have an original trust. I'm just thinking of a recent example, trust dated 1992, and then there are 3 or 4 amendments after that. And so you have to read not only the original trust to find out the duties of the trustee, but also all of the ensuing trust documents, the amendments to the trust, to find out exactly what you should be doing. And even though I've been involved with trust management for the last 30 years, sometimes I can't make head nor tail of the documents myself. So you should be going out there, either getting back in touch with the attorneys that drew up the documents, if that's appropriate, if there's not a conflict of interest there, or the trustee has the ability to go outside and hire their own counsel. Now, of course, thinking back to your question here, Mike, you've not got involved yet. So what you want is a very understanding attorney that might get involved initially up front and put in a few hours helping you try to understand the document. The other thing that I'd strongly suggest is to have a look at the team that's already involved with the situation. You may be walking into a family where if they've got real estate, maybe they've got a tremendous property manager. It's got an absolute handle on the real estate, the leases, the tenants, everything else. That'll be a tremendous help. In the business that you're in, looking at, do they have an effective accountant? Are the tax returns up to date? Are you bumping up against any deadlines? Do you feel the tax returns were appropriately filed? You may look at an investment manager as well. Do they have somebody who's effectively managing the investments, or have they just been left to languish? A lot of the cases that I become involved with, and again, I'm trying to do this before I sign on as a trustee. I'd recommend anybody looking at a new trust do this as well, is to try and assess the assets. You know, what's the number of different mutual funds, number of different brokerage accounts. Try to get a handle on that, because that will give you a really good insight as to the time that's going to be involved in the management of that particular trust, as well as we've referred to before, any litigation that might be out there as well. So you're really looking at trying